Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tinker Talks. I'm your host, Mark Hybers, along with April McDonald. And Tinker Talks is a audio format podcast that talks about events and happenings behind the fence line of Tinker Air Force Base. So, April, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It is morning, just in case anybody hasn't.
Sure is.
We aren't live. Our guests were very worried that we're going to be live, and we're not live, so nobody actually knows that it's morning. You may be listening in the middle of the night, and that's fine, too, as long as you're listening.
We'll take all the
right?
listeners we can get.
Because what happens if people don't subscribe and download?
It hurts my feelings.
And listen to her. You don't want to hurt her feelings. Come on now. So today we are here to talk about a very important subject, though, all kidding aside. We're talking about the Air Force Assistance Fund. And most of you out there that know about fundraising in the military, we don't do it often. So the couple, 2-3 times a year that we get into fundraising events, they're very important, and they're for very good reasons and for good benefits for our airmen. So we're going to talk to the co-project officers this morning. That's Major Alan Chan of the Dental Clinic and Master Sergeant Daniel Hill of the 552 Air Control Network Squadron. It is Network, correct? Okay, yep. Awesome. And if you two wouldn't mind, sirs, just bring those mics a little closer to you. That's part of the live event. People can hear us live right now.
There it goes.
So as we get into this, we're just going to get a little bit of introduction and background on the both of you. So first, Major Chan, if you could, in 200 words or less, kind of give us a little bit of background about who you are and what got you to this point, and then we'll shift on over to the Master Sergeant.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Major Alan Chan, and I was previously enlisted in the Navy for 6 years.
All right.
And then I left the service honorably and went on and pursued my college degrees and re-entered the Air Force as a dentist. And I've been in the Air Force for almost 11 years now.
Awesome.
And this is my first time running the Air Force Assistance Fund campaign. And it's been pretty exciting.
Right. And challenging, I'm sure.
Challenging.
I think everyone that runs it, it's their first time running it. That's how I feel.
So, Master Sergeant Hill, maybe a little bit of background about you, sir?
Yep. So, Master Sergeant Dan Hill. I work at the 552nd Air Control Network Squadron, as Mark already said. But I run the mission defense team, so I do defensive cyber operations for the E3 AWACS network and the control and reporting centers. Mm-hmm. Those networks across the Air Force.
Awesome.
I've been in about 16 years, and like we said earlier, this is our first time doing this AFAF thing.
That's very cool.
So learned a lot along the way, and surprised at how much work goes into it. I didn't know it was quite that much.
Right. So as in the sausage making, as they always talk about,
yes.
That nobody ever sees how the sausage is made. But and you guys did have a bit of a different challenge pop up for this year, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Air Force Assistance Fund?
Yeah.
So the Air Force Assistance Fund is the one of the only authorized fundraiser in the Air Force where we can go around and ask and solicit from other airmen, retirees, to help other airmen and their families. Mm-hmm. And the Air Force Assistance Fund also help widowers to live like a dignified life when their spouses pass away. So, and there are 4 different charities that make up the Air Force Assistance Fund.
Yep. So you have the Air Force Aid Society, which I think that's the one that most people are familiar with. Mm-hmm. And then the Air Force Enlisted Village, the Air Force Villages Charitable Foundation, and the General Miss Courtesy LeMay Foundation. So a lot of people confuse the AFAF with the CFC. So the CFC is great. The Combined Federal Campaign is awesome. I think there's like 8,000 charities that make up the CFC. What differentiates the AFAF from the CFC is that when you contribute to the Air Force Assistance Fund, that money goes directly back into only military retirees and their families. Whereas the combined federal campaign, not all that money that gets donated goes directly back into military and their dependents and retirees only. Right. So it's a little bit different. And I think it impacts the airmen more directly and their families more directly. So like you said, we only get a couple times a year to do this. So
right.
Yeah, it's been interesting so far this year.
What is our goal for Tinker this year for the fund?
So the goal for each base is set by the Secretary of Defense. He sets the goal based on a percentage of the population of the base of active duty military personnel. And he set this year's goal for Tinker Air Force Base at $64,764. Correct. Wow, that's a lot. So the Air Base Wing Commander can go less. He can never go more, but he can go less. But we had the conversation and we chose to go ahead and stick it out and see what we can do. So we kept it at the 64,764.
Right. And go ahead.
We've only got 7,000 or 8,000 military people on base, so
correct.
That seems like a very high goal.
Yeah, it's set the same every year, but yeah. So the percentages for giving are they're not astronomical, but there's a chart that they send out to all of us, to the project officers to train us, that we can use to give the key workers that go around and talk to people to explain that it's not some arbitrary number that they just pull out of the air. It's actually done based on very straightforward math.
Algorithms.
Algorithms.
We've talked about algorithms on this podcast before,
Oh, man.
like subscribing to our podcast. There's an algorithm that the more people that subscribe and download, the more people this reaches. So,
And then
which
April's
helps you.
happier.
That's right. But April doesn't get her feelings hurt, and that's tough for all of us. She's very nice. You don't want to hurt her feelings. But that goal, it's interesting. April brought that up. So 7,000-ish military people on this base. Is it only military people that can give to this fund, or is it based on the whole Tinker population?
So we can actively solicit from active duty members in the Air Force and retirees, but civilians, outside businesses, they can also freely contribute to the Air Force Assistance Fund and help us out tremendously.
Right. Awesome.
So it makes it hard, right? Because it's against the rules to go up to a civilian and ask them to contribute to the Air Force Assistance Fund. But if I'm talking to Major Chan over here, and you overhear it, and you approach me, I'm more than happy to take your money.
Sure, absolutely. Which
we'll throw it in the pot.
So hopefully, when we get done with this podcast, we'll obviously leave contact information on where people can contact to get a hold of, and so hopefully, with our massive reach for our Tinker Talks podcast, hopefully there'll be one or two people out there that you're not allowed to go ask money for, and maybe they'll come forward and volunteer to give some up.
Yeah, so giving this year's never been easier. There's Q codes all over the place.
Right.
And then also they stood up an online secure giving, both through the e-giving straight off the AFAF website, and also an independent third party. It's called QGive. So everything's secure online. I'm a cyber guy, so trust me when I say it's secure,
And so that's interesting you bring that up, that there are some benefits, but how has COVID impacted, the pandemic basically impacted your ability to get people, first of all, to reach people, because we're still in a fairly large telework status, and then to get people to want to donate where people may be wanting to save money and kind of hold back this year?
Yeah, I haven't really noticed a problem.
Okay.
No,
good.
That's not true at all. So I think everybody is almost over COVID, but we've had some challenges. So
right.
The thing with the Air Force Assistance Fund is historically it works very well when people go face to face and the key workers speak directly to individuals. This year, obviously, there's a lot less face to face things happening. So they're trying it via email and Skype and Teams and Zoom, and our key workers are creative and they've got out and done some things, but obviously it's going to impact the overall goal.
Right. People are a little afraid this year.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, they are.
And you mentioned people are spending less money. I mean, just in general, I would agree.
Right.
I think
The people
at
are
this
saving
point.
at a
They're
historic
saving,
rate.
yeah. They
Yes,
are.
they are.
Yep.
So, have either of you ever personally benefited from the Air Force Assistance Fund?
Not directly.
Not directly.
No, me neither.
Yeah. I mean, so I've had airmen that have used Air Force Assistance Air Force Aid Society. So indirectly benefited, I guess. So I like taking care of my guys and girls, and when someone has an issue, knowing that the Air Force Aid Society is there. I mean, the other four charities are awesome, or the other three charities are awesome too. But knowing that this is an avenue to help them is a great little bit of knowledge for NCOs and officers to have.
Right. And we've had, probably two of the largest storms in certainly recent years and decades hit
Yes.
in the last couple years. Has that caused an increase for the need? And do they let you guys in on that information, like how much AFAF is giving out to airmen, how many people are benefiting from this?
So they did locally. The what's her name, Gia?
Gia? Mhm.
Yeah, Gia explained to us that Air Force Aid Society locally here, the spending did increase in support for airmen because of the two ice storms that we had this year. I can't remember the exact number, so it was in the $20,000 range.
Wow.
As far as the increase in spending.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of money that was given to airmen to help them with like vehicle repairs,
Oh, he's got the sheet.
emergency travel,
He's prepared.
and basic living expenses as well.
Right. Well, these were some pretty significant storms.
Yes.
A lot of people without power. So how can people get involved with this? How can they give? How do they find?
I think Major Chan has all of the documentation. Go for it,
So
sir.
people can get involved just by logging into the website airforceassistancefund.org and just click the donate button using their debit or credit card. It only takes 5 minutes or less,
It's super quick.
and they can choose which fund to donate to, or they can just donate to all four equally.
Well, and this got to be a little bit easier, I would think, than CFC, because when you're donating to CFC, there are just so many different agencies to look through. This is with only 4 to choose from.
It's very
You know,
straightforward.
yeah.
Yes.
Take your pick, or like Major Chan said, it can automatically split it up for you.
And April, you did a story about maybe somebody who had received some AFAF benefits years back, or through the Tinker Takeoff.
Through the
think.
Tinker Takeoff, yes, we've done some in years past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember details, but we have done. Way to throw
course.
that curveball, Mark.
That's what I do. It's my best pitch. Master Sergeant Hill, you're looking for
I'm
some
looking
information?
for something on my phone. So you can also go to secured.qgive.com /AFAF Jeez. I'll just email it to you guys.
You give him some help with that.
I was gonna say,
I'll send it to you and we'll just plug it in on
it's
online.
easier just to go to airforceassistancefund.org.
Yeah, I think so.
Or look at our website and our
Yeah.
Facebook
That's
So
right.
page.
the teams, the new QGIve site, that's what that is. And unfortunately, the website's obnoxious.
Well, Oh, there's also another way to give is by texting AFAF to 50155.
Really?
And,
Oh, I forgot about that one too.
It'll take you straight to the website airforceassistancefund.org.
50155. How simple is that?
That's
Yeah.
very easy. Yes.
And just to play around, I actually personally tested that to see if it works, and it's 2 seconds. Yeah, it's really quick.
That's awesome.
All right.
Technology. Yeah.
It's
Gotta love it.
amazing. Yes.
Gotta love it. That's why we got a network guy in here.
Yes.
Everything's going so much more technical with the pandemic. So hopefully this helps out. When is the end of the drive?
This will end. This campaign will end April 30th. But it's year round. Anyone can donate to the Air Force Assistance Fund. When you log in to donate, just don't forget to select Tinker Air Force Base.
Yes, please.
So we can
please choose Tinker.
get credit for that.
Right. So that's an interesting point, though, that the drive is over. Like, they're going to stop seeing the two of you April 30th, but we can keep talking about this the rest of the year.
Right. So when you go to the any AFES establishment, the BX or the gas station, and you'll see, do you want to donate to Air Force Assistance Fund? So they opened that up last year for the whole year because there was a lack of, obviously, with the impact from last year. I mean, it happened about halfway through the campaign for the team last year, but they opened it up for the full year at AFES locations.
Which is great. You get a young airman out there that, may be married and living off the installation and trying to handle, life and what comes at you,
An 8-day power outage.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, that's, when you're so young in your career, you're not really prepared to take on that kind of a financial burden when it happens to you.
Agreed. Yeah.
This fund is so critical. And so with that, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Gia, our next guest, and talk a little bit more about the funds.
About the Air Force Aid Society.
Cool. Thanks. We'll be right back.
Many employees have been in a telework status for most of the last year, and safety at home is as important as safety at work. Inspect your at-home work area to ensure it's tidy and free of safety concerns. Also, inspect your computer for things such as battery swelling. This has the potential to cause damage and in some cases severe damage. Please take the time to inspect your computer's battery area often. If you notice a swelling of any kind in your government laptop battery, please contact your computer administrator immediately. Tornado season is upon us, and now is the time to get prepared. Review your safety plan at work and at home. Check your emergency kit. You should have the essentials such as jugged water, extra batteries and chargers, flashlight, handheld radio, and a first aid kit. Also ensure you have multiple ways of receiving information. Sign up for Tinker's at Hawk, and also make sure you download the Tinker Air Force Base mobile app, which can be found on Air Force Connect on all platforms. Don't wait until it's too late. Get prepared now.
Test 3, 2, 1. Can you hear me, Mark?
April, I can hear you now. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Mark Hybers, April McDonald. And if you heard April testing her microphone coming out of the break, that is because she spent the first portion of this podcast speaking inside of a box outside of the conference room where we're recording. So it may sound like you can't hear her very well, and that's for good reason, because she decided to stay on the other side of the glass and just make us look like we were zoo animals. So,
In full disclosure, rookie mistake, I forgot to turn my own microphone on. Didn't realize it until we went to the break. So we've been talking about the Air Force Assistance Fund, and I'm going to start my own campaign called the All Find April Fans, because Mark is going to fire me as his sidekick. So we need to boost up the listenership on this podcast so he'll decide to keep me.
we sure do. So
He's
make
already
sure to subscribe.
Yes, he's already dowgraded from Jillian to April. So whatever it takes to keep me on the payroll.
In all honesty, it's not. I mean, how do you compete with Jillian?
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah, even I don't. And I've been doing this since a long time ago. We'll just say probably most of the listeners that are listening weren't alive when I did my first radio show in broadcasting coming out of school. So that's where we got with that. So
there you go.
Anyway, I'm glad your microphone is back on and
Thanks,
working.
me too.
We're glad to have you. Now you don't sound like a shell of your former self. And with that, we are going to welcome our next guest. Gia, thanks for being patient. This is Gia Easley. And she's in to talk to us a little bit more about the Air Force Assistance Fund and some of those programs.
So the Air Force Aid Society is one of the charities that benefits from the Air Force Assistance Fund. Can you tell us a little bit about the Air Force Aid Society?
Sure. The Air Force Aid Society, it's been around since 1942, and it is it does a whole bunch of different things, community programs and whatnot. But one of the big things that Air Force Aid Society does is it assists airmen in emergency situations. It's designed to provide assistance to stabilize an emergency situation going on. And in doing so, it provides 0% interest loans to active duty Air Force, retirees, and their dependents, as well as some military widowed spouses.
Awesome. And so who is actually eligible? I think you kind of covered a little bit of that, but...
Yeah, so active duty Air Force, Guard and Reserve on Title 10 or Title 32 orders, and military or surviving spouses of active duty service members.
And just for people who don't know, Title 10 and Title 32, because there are some people who've never been in the military, can you explain the difference? Active duty and Guard or Reserve, basically.
Right. So Guard and Reserve, when a Guard member or reservist is put on Title 10 orders for longer than 15 days. That means they're activated for longer than 15 days. Air Force Aid Society can assist with them. And then Guard and Reserve, who are on Title 32, they're basically full-time at that point, and they can receive assistance as well.
Awesome. And that basically just is who's paying the bill. That's what the titles mean.
Can you give us some examples of how the Air Force Aid Society has provided funds for airmen?
Sure. So they provide what they consider an emergency situation is when someone needs assistance with rent or mortgage, utilities, food. Emergency travel is a big one when someone needs to get back home to see loved ones who are ill, injured, or maybe have passed. Car repair, car payments, all of those things qualify as an emergency assistance. They also assist with disasters, natural disasters. And, in the past, Air Force Aid has assisted when hurricane, I forget the hurricane name, but hit Tyndall Air Force Base down in Florida. Yep. Air Force Aid assisted many families who had to evacuate that situation, as well as the current situation of COVID-19. Air Force Aid assisted families with what they called a virtual school grant. Each family received $250 to assist their children in purchasing needed equipment to be homeschooled.
Oh, that's really cool.
That is.
Actually, especially, who would think that you would need, a grant for computer systems to help educate from home?
Right.
That's awesome. Well, Gia, thanks for popping in. Everybody, remember to keep donating. Right, like we talked earlier that there's a period that we're hitting people up here on the base and doing this actively recruiting for donations, but you can donate and give for the rest of the year.
Yes, so definitely think about our airmen.
Right. Thanks, Gia. Anything else you want to add before we close out, Gia?
Just if anyone does need to apply for Air Force Aid, they would do so at afas.org, and then they would call our office, the Airmen and Family Readiness Center, to set up an appointment, and we could assist them with that.
Awesome, and we'll have that stuff included in the story and show notes as well.
Perfect.
And so with that, April, thanks for joining a portion of another episode.
Yes, you're welcome.
Of Tinker Talks. Yeah. Next time we record, we'll have the full April McDonald.
That's right.
The people deserve the full experience. So with that, we are going to bring to close another episode of Tinker Talks. Thanks for joining us today. And please, as we've been talking about this whole entire episode, get involved. You heard a lot of different ways where even just a little bit of money will go a long way to help a lot of people in need, even down to helping kids, who need computers to stay educated at home. I mean, that's just critical, and they help out in so many different ways. And living in Oklahoma and coming up in tornado season, you have no idea what what tomorrow could bring for any of us. So thanks again to all of our guests today. And so just remember, please subscribe and download. Don't hurt April's feelings if you don't subscribe, listen, and download. And you can find us on all the formats on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify if you're a non-Apple user. And check out our website. April does a lot of work on our website, so she also will have her feelings hurt. We have we really do have an incredible website. If
it's
nobody out
robust.
there has ever been, it is a very robust website with an even more robust coronavirus and vaccine section to that
Definitely.
website. There's been a lot of work that has gone into that, and it's a great resource for information. You can find that at tinker.af.mil. Last time I said www, and everybody that was sitting here reminded me of how old I was, that you don't have to say that anymore. Apparently the World Wide Web part is just assumed. So tinker.af.mil. And then check out our social media sites, Instagram and Facebook. That's at Tinker Air Force Base. And then our Twitter handle is at @team_Tinker. And until next time, stay safe out there. Respect one another, please. And have a great day.